look at that head. That's just pillowy white.
Yeah, that's great.
That's just absolutely beautiful. A lot of people, the goal is to try to eliminate the head. And no one, everyone, I don't want beer if it has.
No, that's where all the aroma comes.
Yeah, it is, and it's bubbles, it's pockets of pure aroma that get released. And the reason you would have them in a glass like this is to concentrate that. So to first concentrate it here, and then to open up for your nose. So you stick your nose.
Good thing I got a big nose. Huh?
Yeah, you stick it right in there, and that's where you're really going to get the aroma from. And
yeah, this beer does really have a great aroma.
Yeah, it really does. And aromas are, one of the best things to try to start with on a beer. It gives you a good idea of where you're going, but you can enjoy beers. I've had beers that I have just sat for 20 minutes before I even tasted it. Just enjoyed and appreciated the aroma.
Isn't it funny how so many people are like, why are you smelling beer?
Yeah.
Like, beer doesn't smell like anything. Like,
Yeah.
no, it really does
Well,
smell like something.
yeah, if you have a mass-produced domestic lager, yeah, you're right. It doesn't have
they're
the
all gonna
smell.
smell the same. You're like, yeah, it smells like beer.
Yeah, but
Oh, if you pour it on your sheets at night and then let it sit for a while, then it has aroma.
yeah, I don't know. I think that becomes odor.
Yeah,
But it's one of the things that when you're getting into craft beer, take your time with it. It's not something that you just chug. With craft beer, you really want to appreciate it. It's much more like wine in that capability. You want to take a look at how does this look. I mean, and also really one of the things you want to do. A lot of people, I don't want to put anybody off, but you want to read a bit about it.
People, it's okay.
Yeah, you want to research it a little bit. I mean, what makes a saison, a farmhouse saison, different from other Belgian style beers? And a lot of that is history. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. But if you take your time and you research a little bit, you're gonna appreciate the beer more.
I think that's the deal. I think you and I are into beer. We're reading about beer and all that stuff. So when you start to talk about beer and when you start to gain knowledge about beer, you start to appreciate it more. So it's not just you're going. If you have this preconceived idea about what beer is supposed to taste like, and then you taste it and you go, well, that's not what I thought it was, so I don't like it. Well, you got to kind of wash that out of your head and start thinking about, oh, this beer is made with malted wheat, or it's made with lavender, or it's made with specialty grains, or it's made with these really aromatic hops. Then you start to appreciate, oh, this beer is different from the other beer that I had the other night, so that therefore I'm gonna enjoy this, differently than I had the other night. You know what I mean?
And that's one of the reasons. A lot of people who drink most of the domestic lager, they have a brand. I like Bud Light, and they'll just go buy Bud Light over and over and over again, or Coors Light, or whatever it is, and they stick with the same brand. And that's fine if that's what they're in. But when you find and you get into craft beers, it's the opposite of that. You really want to go out and explore, and you'll try stuff, even if you don't, if it's a style you're not really into. You'll try it simply because it's different, it's new, it's unique.
Yeah.
You want to experience the width and the breadth of everything that beer has to offer.
And it's not about how much. It's not about the cost of it. It's like going out and trying a new restaurant.
Exactly.
You'll go out and try a new restaurant, and you'll complain about the bad service. You'll complain about if you don't like it, you don't like it. But are you going to be like, I'm going to go back in time and get my money back?
Yeah.
You just don't go back there again. So if you try a beer that you don't like, you just don't go back there again.
And you learn from every time you try it.
So then you go, okay, I don't like these beers. I do like these beers. There's hop heads, there's malt heads, there's Belgian, there's sour heads. There's all these. You find different styles of beer that you like, and then that's the beauty of it. Once you find something you like, then you go after those styles, and you realize that there's a plethora of brewers out there that are making those styles of beer for you. Yeah. So that's a great thing. I think that's a great thing about American breweries now is that the American brewers are going after all of these really old styles of beer, and they're like, I'm going to give my take on this really old style of beer, and I'm going to make it good because that's what I like, or that's what I think this beer should taste like, or I had this beer back in the day and it you know, it brought back this memory or whatever, so I'm going to replicate this beer and you know, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to add a different grain, or I'm going to add a different style hop. And you know what? They're freaking great beers, you know?
Exactly. And that's where homebrewing kind of started. In the 1970s, we really had a homebrewing revolution. And people really started, it was in response to the fact that the only thing you could get here was mass-produced domestic lagers. And, you know, so people really wanted to try these other kind of beers, and the only way they could do that was to brew them themselves.
So if someone went to Europe and tasted an English ale or a barley wine or something, they went, I've never had this before. I want this. And you go back to the States and they say, we don't carry that type of beer.
It wasn't available.
Yeah.
So they started to brew it themselves. And by brewing it themselves, I mean, almost all of this craft brew revolution that we're in right now, we are in a craft brew revolution, really started out from home brews. You know, almost everyone that's involved with a major brewery now started off as a home brewer.
Yeah.
And just...
Yeah, if you look at the bio of every great brewer, I brewed in college, or, you know, I was a biologist and I just always brewed my own beer. You know, brewers aren't idiots. Most brewers, if you look at the great brewers of, you know, this country, they're freaking amazing people, and they're really freaking smart, you know? And they have degrees. They had desk jobs. They made good money doing something else, and you know what? They like put it all on the line to brew great beer.
To do what they really love and what they were passionate about.
You look at Fritz Maytag, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy came from you know, a very wealthy family, and he said, I want to brew beer.
Yeah.
And he brewed the beer, he bottled the beer.
Right.
He's not just some rich guy that developed this company. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that, I majored in business at USC and I came up with this great idea for a business and I'm going to make a bunch of money. You can't do that in the beer industry. If you don't know how to bottle beer, if you don't know how to brew beer, you're going to fail every time. And that's what happened in the late 90s.
Right.
You know, the craft beer thing started going in the mid-90s, and all of these guys go, oh, it's easy to brew beer. No, it's not easy to brew beer. No, it is easy to brew beer. It's not easy to brew good beer.
That's correct.
The difference. So they brewed all this crappy product, and they realized that, I'm making the six figures that I wanted to in the first 2 years of the brewing company.
Yeah, and they failed. But like, okay, now you're going to have to help me with his name. The Sam Calistone? From Dogfish Head?
Yeah.
I can never pronounce his name.
Sam.
So, Sam, please forgive me. He really takes some amazing risks with a lot of his beers. He is really pushing the envelope using all kinds of very esoteric ingredients, you know, and researching historical formulas that haven't been produced in any memory.
And that brewery started out as like, I think the size of a keg or something like that. They would brew like 5 days a week out of like a 15-gallon pot, you know. So, and they did it, you know, and now they've got a really big facility and they're very successful brewery. Yeah. Well, cheers. Thanks for enjoying this beer. Great.
My pleasure.